The four main directions are east, south, west, and north. And the north represents white, the air, the elements, wisdom, and logic. It's aligned with harmony and balance. It represents the human mind, the animal, the stars, the manifestation through science and philosophy and religion. The west is the color black. The earth is the element. It's about introspection and change. It's aligned with intuition. It represents the physical body, minerals, earth, and magic. The east is gold or yellow. That's the fire element. It represents illumination and enlightenment, medicine. It's aligned with the spirit, with grandfather's son, and the manifestation through art and writing. The south is red, the water element. Trust and innocence, aligned with our emotions, the planet, the moon, and manifestation through music. I'm going to do the welcoming song. It's an honoring song, a Tlingit song. And I sing it for each of the four directions for you tonight, and feel free to join in. Way, 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 ah, hey, way, ah, hey, way, ah, hey, way, 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 ah, hey, way, 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 ah, hey, way, ah, hey, way, ah, hey, way, 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 ah, hey.
What an amazing crowd. Amazing gathering. And as I was introduced there, I went, oh yeah, that's me. So, my name is Ken Workman. I'm a retired aerospace analyst and sitting Duwamish Council member. And so the Duwamish tribe used to have all of this. So our land went from the King County border north around 205th all the way down by SeaTac, and then of course Lake Washington. So it wasn't very long ago that there wasn't anything here but trees and a handful of people. Okay. Can you hear me now? Okay. What about hands in the back? Can you hear me back there? No? Okay. How's this? Okay. So in my language, Yayustobs, it means workman. So I was never given an Indian name. It just so happens that my English name translates directly into our local language. So Yayus, it means work, Stobs means man. So Yayustobs Tigda, my name is Workman. And I am of the Duwamish tribe. Yeshid is family. Can you hear? Great grandson of Chief Seattle. And so a long time ago, just 165 or so years ago, Grandpa, he stood on the shores down there at Elkai and he said, hey, come ashore, welcome. And so this is how we say welcome in our language. It's Gui. So when there's many people, we go, and that is welcome, my friends, onto this land that we call Duwamish. It's good to see you and welcome. And so when I look around and I see the trees that we have here, and I see my ancestors in these trees, and I say, thank you, ancestors. The ancient ones, they live in the trees. And so here in Seattle, we have many of these trees, and the ancient ones give us that oxygen. And so by virtue of them sharing that oxygen with us, we are all part of this one big family. And so we extend that reach out to Standing Rock here today, because the people back east, back on the Standing Rock Sioux Reservation, they are working hard to protect their land. And when I talk about my land or the Duwamish land out here and the ancient ones in the trees, I think of their land and how the bulldozers come right over the top of their people. And so I get angry and I say, we have to do something. We have to help these people. And so that's why we're reaching out here today. Great big work. Hey, I used to see out the Standing Rock Sioux. Big work we're going to do here today for the Standing Rock Sioux. And so I know we're on a timeline here, and I don't want to take up all the time on the microphone. And so with that, I will say to my friends from Alaska, Tlingit, I'll say Gunul Chish. It means thank you. And I'll say to our friends from Vancouver Island, the Newtonot, I will say Kleko. It means thank you. And for our Lummi friends, Haishka CM, and for our Tulela friends, Otig Weedseed. And down here, Quadid, we say Usquadida Chud. And for our friends down on the Columbia River, we say Hayas Masi. All of these things are thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. Usquadida Chud, Tual Dagwe Ibasha Rafat Squash Watufit all Disha Ogwad Afas Dat. And thank all of you people for driving here and coming here today onto this place. Tual Disha Hekwa Oyayus for this big work. Usquadida Chud.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Ken. Thank you. All right, so I'm still sticking with the I'm too short. So it is an honor for me to get to introduce. Can you guys back there hear me? I'm pretty loud. Oh, yay, I see hands. You can. Okay, so it's an honor for me to get to introduce our next person. She's my co-MC. So I would like to introduce Patricia Iwahawinan. Allen, and she is of the Tlingit, Native Alaskan, Iroquois, and Arawak nations. She is a member of the Chief Frank Nelson's, One People, and Copperbird Canoe families. She is the education manager at the Northwest African American Museum, an activist and an organizer with Indians for Justice, and the Women Color of Speak Out with the 206 Zulu grassroots hip-hop community. So I would like you guys to put your hands together and welcome Miss Patricia Allen.
Thank you so much. Patricia, يخد الصوت يان هوينا يخد الصوت شكن شاء يخد أخ إيش هشوفنا خريب. Thank you. My name is Patricia, as I said earlier, and my Mohawk name is Jan Hoinen. I'm from the Chicanady clan from Huna, as I said earlier. But anyways, after that, something I really wanted to be able to share with you is how I kind of ended up here, involved in this movement. About 6 years ago, there was a shooting of a man here in Seattle. His name was John T. Williams, and he was Didi New Tunnels from Vancouver Island. And he was shot really, really without mercy from a police officer here. And the police officer was excused and pardoned for all that he had done that had murdered that Indigenous elderly man. And I really thought about that moment, and it reminded me a lot of my father. My father was previously homeless and had experienced a lot of historical trauma, and there's a lot of stigmatism towards a lot of the Indigenous people here in Seattle. And I realized that could have been my father, what happened to John T. Williams when he was shot by Ian Burke. So I decided to join into this organization called Indians for Justice. And we formed many rallies here in Seattle and really collaborated with a lot of Indigenous communities as well as a lot of other civil rights organizations, including El Comité and the NAACP as well as several others included and collaborated a lot with Chief Seattle Club, which is really great. And with that, really, it helped me understand how much state violence and environmental justice and indigeneity and sovereignty really intersects with one another. And so, for me, as somebody coming forth as an Indigenous and Black person, it's important to say Black Lives Matter when we also say Native Lives Matter. And it's important to say Native Lives Matter when we do say Black Lives Matter, because you see what's going on in North Dakota now. I used to steer a little bit away from it, but it's important to use those terms and acknowledge and bring space to that. And so understanding that much of our movements, our civil rights movements here in the U.S., a lot of it comes from state violence and the amount of issues that our urban and rural communities experience. And so understanding Standing Rock, we also have to understand that this is not just an issue in Standing Rock. This is an issue all over the country, not just within Indigenous communities, but also other underrepresented and marginalized communities here in Seattle and here in the U.S. And we've always had to work together. We've always had to do solidarity work together, which is really important. And there's a lot going on here in Seattle that a lot of people can be involved with. Some things I really wanted to also point out are that I really wanted to acknowledge last night and the youth that were arrested last night standing up against the Trump rally against Trump. So if you can please acknowledge that and acknowledge them, and if you ever want to make any efforts to contributing and helping bail for those youth, I'll post the link on the event page as well. Those youth are really going through a lot right now, and there's a lot of trauma going on, and they're really in the forefront of all of our movements. So it's very important to encourage the youth and give space to the youth when they really want to be able to learn more and take initiative like that. Something else I really wanted to share was that we recently just had a collaboration within many of the women of color in the community in the South Seattle area, and we just had a huge fundraiser around hip-hop and indigeneity at Washington Hall, and we raised a good amount of money. I'm not quite sure the final total, but we're going to be able to bring a lot of hip-hop organizers into Standing Rock. And the reason why it's important for us to bring hip-hop organizers within our communities of color here in predominantly South Seattle is that hip-hop has gone so global and so quickly that it can be used as a movement in the music to be able to educate people about indigeneity, to educate about Black Lives Matter, to educate about the North Dakota Access Pipeline. So if we're able to utilize that, and do education through music, through other forms that people don't always have access to. We can be able to really reach out and include many more people into the movements. We can really be able to address some of the systemic issues going on within our communities, which really derive from a lot of the economic disparities that have always happened here in the U.S., as well as the racialized divisions and classisms that have happened here in the U.S. So understanding that is really important. And so one last thing I guess I'm going to say is that we're going to have a group of people going to Standing Rock on Sunday. And so something I've been really big on sharing with people is that when you go to Standing Rock, if you go to Standing Rock, try your best to bring an Indigenous person with you. For every person that goes, I know people have gone 2 and 3 and 4 times. There are a lot of Indigenous people who, because of time or because of money, they can't make it. So if you can commit to trying to get someone to go with you at least one of the times or one of the trips you go over there, if you can't make it over there because of time or whatever other constraints, try to make that space available for Indigenous people. I'm hearing a lot of people going over there that are non-Indigenous, and it's really important to follow the protocols of the peoples and the communities, and make sure that you have your spirit understood, you understand your spirit, you understand your spirituality, and you have that relationship when you go there. Because as Rachel said earlier, this is a spiritual movement, and you're expected to to come with your armor, your spiritual armor when you get there. You can't find it. You can't go there looking for it. You need to have something to bring, and always have something to bring with you when you go to those spaces. That's for the most part what I was going to share, but we're going to be doing a lot more fundraisers when we come back with Indians for Justice. But I also want to thank 350 Seattle, because a lot of our rallies were under Indians for Justice before 350 Seattle came in and really took initiative and took partnership with us, so in the urban indigenous community. So Haichka, thank you very much. You want to follow anything else that's going on? There's a lot of the Facebook groups, and for me, I don't specifically affiliate with any one group or page besides Women of Color Speak Out. And so it's really, really before you go there, do that education. I recommend people read Decolonizing Methodologies, but follow what's going on with the youth and make sure that you can financially support Indigenous youth and communities over to Standing Rock. Ganesh Tish, thank you. Yeah, sorry about that. Okay, so next, I'm going to still be on stage for a second. Next, I wanted to have the honor to introduce Alec Cannon, who's been amazing, who's been raising money all over Seattle, helping organize with people and Indigenous communities and leaders all over Seattle, as well as bringing in allies, bringing in a lot of amazing revenue for helping support against the Dakota Access Pipeline. Please welcome Alec Cannon.
Hi, I want to start just by respecting that we're on stolen Duwamish land. And that pretty much wherever we go in the United States, we are almost certainly standing on land that was stolen by white colonizers from Indigenous people. My name is Alec Cannon. I'm an organizer with 350 Seattle, which is an organization that believes in the power of people's movements to affect and force accelerated change on governments, and we believe in the power of people's movements to combat the climate crisis. And I was asked just to speak, to talk a little bit about our work and what we're doing to try and racist, Islamophobic, homophobic, transphobic, misogynist, science-denying, climate change-denying man as our president has been the largest ever blow to the global climate movement. But there is far too much for us to fight for. There is far too much on the line for us to do anything but to come together and push back harder and fight harder. And yes, we may now have a man who does not believe in climate change as president, but we can still win really big and really important fights in the fight against climate change. Particularly, we can still win fights at the corporate level, we can still win fights at the local level, and most importantly of all, we can still win fights at the state level. That is really, really important, because in the Northwest, we are in geographically, one of the most important areas for the fossil fuel industry. Right now in Washington State alone, we have a proposed coal terminal that would be the largest coal terminal in America, a proposed oil-by-rail terminal that would be the largest in America, and a huge proposed liquefied natural gas plant for Tacoma. And if we stop these projects, if we keep winning these fights as we have been winning them for years, the thing is that means that all of the fossil fuels in the interior of America, the coal in Montana, the Bakken in North Dakota, and the tar sands in Alberta, it can't get to global markets. It has to come through the Northwest in order to be able to get to the global market. So if we win these fights, then we stop those fossil fuel projects from going ahead, and we keep those fossil fuels in the ground. And if we win those projects in Washington, there's nothing our president can do about it. Our president, he's not our president. And so I'm here just really quickly to talk about something that we are launching at 350 Seattle in the aftermath of the presidency. In our governor, we have a supposed climate champion, a man who has written a book about climate change, and it is not only in his power to stop all of these projects, but it's in his power to use his executive authority to ban all fossil fuel projects in Washington state. And that's what we need. So as we are continuing to stand with Standing Rock and to push back against the Dakota Access Pipeline, this is also our fight in the Northwest, is to push our governor to use his executive authority to ban all fossil fuel projects in the Northwest. And in doing that, he will be sending as powerful a message as we can get to the President that we will not comply with your system as it propels us to climate disaster. And so that's why we've launched the Pledge of Resistance. We are going to be putting every tool we can to put pressure on Inslee to use his executive authority to do this. And one very important tool is the Pledge of Resistance, which is quite simple. I pledge to engage in non-violent acts of civil disobedience to stop the Pacific Northwest from turning into a fossil fuel corridor. Already over 400 people have signed this pledge, but we need thousands of people to sign this pledge. If thousands of Washingtonians, law-abiding everyday citizens in Washington, sign this pledge and say they're willing to put themselves and their freedom on the line to stop fossil fuel projects from being built, that is going to send a very, very, very powerful message to Governor Inslee and all of our government officials. So there are about a dozen volunteers who have pledge cards in the audience tonight, and if you see them, please talk to them and they will tell you much more about this. And I just want to wrap up very, very quickly and say that when I'm talking about the Pledge of Resistance, especially in the aftermath of last week's election, in which we are now living under a white supremacist, racist, Islamophobic regime, when I'm talking and asking people to engage in non-violent acts of civil disobedience that could result in their arrest, I am talking to everyone in the audience, but I am particularly talking to those with the greatest levels of privilege. It is those of us with the greatest levels of privilege, people like me, who are the ones who are going to be least under attack from this administration. We are the ones who are least threatened by the hate and the xenophobia of this regime, and therefore it is also we that have the greatest responsibility to put ourselves in the line. So my question to everyone in the audience, but particularly my question to people in the audience, to people like me, white people, cis people, straight people, men, faced with a racist, misogynist, Islamophobic, homophobic, transphobic, science-denying, climate change-denying president who has promised to deport 11 million people of colour from this country, how much are you willing to risk to stop that happening?
All of it.
And almost as importantly, how much are you willing to give? Are you willing to give your time? How much are you willing to give to this fight? Are you willing to give your time, your energy, your skills, and make this a major part of your life? Because if you're in this position of privilege and you are not prepared to do that, then you are complying with this system. And if you are complying with this system, you are complicit in this system. And if you are complicit, you are morally culpable. Thank you.
Thank you, Alec. Thank you. All right, everybody, before I introduce our next guest, do we know why we're here tonight? Are we here to save the water? Mini Wichoni. All right, for those of you that don't know what that is, while I was in Standing Rock, it's a beautiful word that I learned. Mini Wichoni. It's the Lakota word for water is life. So when we come up here and we say Mini Wichoni, what do you say?
Water is life!
Mini Wichoni!
Water is life!
Yes, it is. The other reason we are here today is because Standing Rock has called a national day of solidarity with them. They have asked us to call to action to divest from banks that support these fossil fuel projects. The other reason is, right now, this is in the hands of the Army Corps of Engineers right now. And we are hoping that they tell them, DAPL has decided that they are going to dig no matter what. And we can't let that happen. So that's why we are all here tonight. So thank you guys again. His name is Deo Esquivel, and he's from Mohawk. He's an activist, art coordinator at Chief Seattle Club, and he is super bad on the powwow drum. So let's welcome Deo.
Thank you. First of all, I just want to thank everybody for turning out tonight. You guys could be at home. We could all be at home watching things unfold on the news. We could be watching our Facebook feeds, seeing videos of what's happening at Standing Rock, seeing our relatives being mistreated, our culture being desecrated. We watch our women being abused and pepper sprayed. But we're all here to show our support. So, first of all, you have to look at each other and thank each other for being here, for making that time to show that it is important to us. I'm gonna set my coffee down. I'm gonna try to put this down. It makes a lot of noise when you move. Is that better? She said, come a little closer. Yeah, this is good. Humor. Laughter is medicine. You look around, we're all related, we're all relatives. You're all my brothers and sisters. We're in this together. Water is life for everything. All humans, all animals depend on water, the plant life. They say when they look for life on another planet, the first thing they look for is water. It's that important. It is essential for life to exist. That's why we're all here. It doesn't matter if we're tribal or non-tribal. We're here because water is important. We come together and we speak out and we make our presence felt because we cannot live without the water. That is the number one reason why this pipeline must be stopped. That we must move away from fossil fuels. We must develop clean, sustainable energy. We need to get away from that Black Death. The Creator has given us what we need. The sun, the water, the wind. That is what we need to survive on this planet. We don't need oil. We have too many people with money and the power that say that we need it. We need those jobs. We need airplanes. We need cars that go 150 miles an hour. We don't need all that. We need each other. I look around here, and I don't really have to do a lot of convincing to tell you people how important it is that we protect the water. That's why you're all here. You guys know. We all understand this. What we need you to do is turn around and tell everyone else who isn't here. Before we got started, I went over to 7-Eleven and got a coffee. My hands are a little bit cold. I was getting a little tired. It's been a long day at work. While I was over there in line, I hear a guy saying to another, both of them non-native guys, are saying, "Oh, there's 1,000 people over there protesting. What's all that about?" And the other guy starts telling him, starts talking about Standing Rock. And like I said, these are both non-native people. One educating the other. That's exactly what you all have to do when you leave here. We all know how important this is. We're not going to be silent anymore. We're not going to be complicit, as Alex said. We have to stand up. We have to tell each other, people who don't understand, people who don't think it's a big deal. And I'm just going to wrap up, and again, I'm just going to ask everyone, please take these tumultuous times that we live in and speak out. That's one of the few freedoms we have in this country.